Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin, back again with another reaction video. And we've got a new content creator on the docket today. I just discovered this person, very fascinating. The channel is called Library of Tehuti, and they have all these interesting kind of like spiritual subjects that they do these videos on. They're fairly new. This one's titled Magic Spells Are Actually a Misunderstood Power. Yeah, and then there's another thing, like right on the thumbnail, it says witches are spiritual. So it's gonna kind of like incorporate witches in here. So I'm looking forward to this one. So anyway, without further ado, let's take a look.
Magic. That word alone fills the imagination of witches and wizards casting elaborate spells, or shamans communing with spirits to manipulate unseen forces. For millennia, mainstream society has dismissed magical practices as primitive superstition at best and sinister witchcraft at worst. But this reflects a superficial understanding based on irrational fears rather than reason. In truth, magic is an ancient multi-purpose science harnessing the hidden power of consciousness and natural forces to produce desired results in the physical world. Grounded in precise rituals, spells are structured spiritual technologies for manifesting reality. Far from supernatural fantasy, magic recognizes latent human capabilities to engage unseen energies that shape our world. To appreciate magic's place in humanity's legacy, we must first demystify it. Breaking magic down to its core elements reveals precise mechanics behind the mystical veil. At its heart, magic acknowledges consciousness as the prime mover shaping existence.
So imagine for a moment that you could love the world so much that you would even want your enemies to get what they want, which might be your destruction. That you love people so much that you are willing to sacrifice your own existence so that they can get what they want. You know, I remember that story I vaguely heard once about the Buddha feeding himself to a hungry tiger, so that it could feed its cubs. Imagine that for a second, okay? Because there's a lot of non-dual talk that goes on, right? And some of the things we humor in non-dualism is a solipsism, is the idea that, oh my God, what if it's all me and I'm manifesting, you know, like Fight Club moment, like what if it's all in my head?
Yeah.
Another one is that everything's real. This is the one I'm kind of leaning towards right now, is that you're real and everybody else is very real, but we are sort of co-manifesting this reality. Right? But we've got a lot of there's all kinds of features of this reality. One of which, if you believe in the theory of evolution at all, is that we come from apes. And if you look at the nature of apes, they're quite petty. They're quite status-oriented, competitive, and all seeking to dominate each other. You know, it's all well and good if there's a reality to this, that you can do spells. I know that there's spells of like love spells, and there's, you know, on the dark side of things, there's things you can do to get at people. What if that's true? What if this is true and you can hurt the people? You know, arguably they could hurt you too, or hypnotize you, or put a spell to make you fall in love with you.
Yeah.
But you're kind of, if you're operating in this way, it seems like you might be missing a greater picture, which is like, why would I want to wield magic to get someone to love me when that's not what they would naturally feel anyway? Or why would I want to fill my bank account up with magic if I'm using magic to do it? Like, there's all kinds of good ways to fill your bank account up.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of good things you could do with the existing fingers and hands and body you have. Are you doing it for good, or are you doing it for ego? I'm not even necessarily against witchcraft or magic, but the question is, are you doing it consciously, or are you doing it unconsciously?
Yeah. I've heard some spiritual teachers talk about magic as if you can only get the power out of it as to the degree of your selflessness. So I wonder if there's something, you know, attached to that in this.
You don't believe? So would you humor that it's possible for people to wield dark magic?
I don't know. I've asked. I'm curious about that, and I've never understood that. Just because, unless you didn't know you were a part of the darkness, I don't know why anyone would be like, I'm gonna pick the dark side and I'm gonna wield. I just don't understand it.
Well, I'm saying, if it was real, that you could wield forces to get what you want, why wouldn't you wield forces to have everybody get what they want?
Yeah.
I want everybody to get what they want.
Yeah.
But then you'd have to be aware of the fact that what people want. I mean, you got to study human nature. You can study human nature. You can study human psychology, and you can see our proclivities and tendencies, especially when we're unconscious. What we do when we blind ourselves to how we actually are. Unconsciousness. You know, it's deeply selfish. It's self-biased. But if you could wield these things, are you doing it for the collective growth of humanity, or for everybody's suffering to be ended? Is that the idea? You know, and not trying to come off as holier than thou. I just think it plays a part in all this, because I do think that some of this stuff is real. You know, it's not like, part of what we do here is experiment. You know, when the cameras are off, we experiment with a lot of different things. And I've looked into witchcraft and, you know, checked that sort of stuff out. And I don't think it's just dismissible.
Yeah.
Great video, by the way. The guy's voice is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I got more things to say, but I'm going to let this play it a little bit longer before I just chime in.
The mind interweaves with the very fabric of reality. Focused awareness combined with intention generates subtle energies that influence probabilities and outcomes. Magic couples this psychic force of will with the raw creative potency of nature. First, rituals concentrate attention and emotion into a coherent stream. Ordinary consciousness scatters its energy, while concentrated focus creates a laser. Symbols, chants, and meditation intensify clarity and willpower. Second, intention as the laser's direction targets desired outcomes. Visualization activates the imagination to imprint goals upon the malleable quantum field. Third, precise techniques manipulate various energies to alter matter, body, mind, or spirit. Channels like breath, emotions, kundalini, or sex sublimate psychic force into something tractable. Finally, the magician cultivates stillness and surrender to align with the universal energy. Without quieting the ego's demands, magic becomes misguided. Skilled practice furthers universal harmony. Ancient cultures mastered these symmetries between consciousness, energy, and matter across temples and traditions worldwide. Magic appears supernatural merely because modern societies neglected these latent human capabilities. If you are opening your eyes to what magic really is, then give us a like and subscribe. It helps us grow, and in turn, we help you grow as well. Now, on to the next section. Magic has existed since prehistory as humanity sought meaning in the mysteries of existence. Indigenous cultures honored magic to harness nature's latent power and the mind's hidden gifts. The earliest known spells date over 30,000 years ago. Extra emphasis on the words earliest known and not earliest used. For millennia, techniques were guarded by oral transmission through shamanic lineages or elite temple initiations. Different streams emerged, but all recognized magic as engaging unseen forces that shape reality. Practitioners sought attunement with the web of life to gain wisdom about interconnectedness. Through rituals imbued with focused intention, the invisible planes could be accessed to manipulate the physical world. Indigenous shamanic magic channeled elemental forces of earth, water, air, and fire for healing, divination, and equilibrating human activities within nature. High magic in complex ancient societies like Egypt, India, and China employed esoteric techniques to awaken inner planes of consciousness. The spectrum from folk spells to mystic rituals reflects magic's universal essence, the science of interfacing the mind with matter and spirit. While rituals took diverse forms, magic's core principles were universally aimed at focusing consciousness and emotion to activate manifestations, whether a successful hunt, harmony between a couple, or communion with divine beings. Adept practitioners learn to follow cycles of nature and the cosmos to amplify magic's effects. All energy exists in polarities, light and dark, order and chaos, creation and destruction. Magic recognizes that reality encompasses polar forces in dynamic balance. Skilled practice and inner harmony of intent for positivity create that desired effect. But without an intent of purity, magic can magnify shadows and manipulate others for ego gratification. Practitioners achieve the best results through purifying character and acting from compassion. When aligned with the universal spirit, magic manifested a sense of oneness with all creation and further divine order. But many traditions cautioned about magic ripening into unintentional evil when abused for personal gain without concern for the whole. Moreover, the deeper one's capacity developed through magic, the greater one's karmic responsibility became. Genuine mastery involved separating one's identity from the polar energies magic engaged, so as to act as a pure vessel for nature's limitless creative potential. Adept magicians understood ego could corrupt magic into a projection of limited desires. But disciplined practice could open conduits for working in selfless alignment with the divine will.
So it looks like it's about to jump into another part, but I thought this would be a good place to take a break and kind of jump in. I've been playing this video game Skyrim, and you can harness magical powers within the game. Usually it's used all for selfish things, either to kill the bad guy or to heal yourself. But what I was seeing inside of this, man, was the importance of kind of like getting like the power and kind of like a collective, coming together. And the video said to harness the energy like a laser beam. And that brought to mind how there's so much propaganda and division lately. No wonder we can't manifest anything good, because everything seems so divisive. Like, what if you had a council meeting, or you had like a political party come into like the chambers, and we're like, okay, today we're not leaving till we all can decide to agree on one thing. What's one thing that we all agree on? Rather than focus completely constantly on all things that we don't disagree, what's one thing that we all agree on? And then like try to go from there rather than to go from a place of all the divisive things. What would happen if we started to like, and this could be something that was done in business, something that could be done in our communities, everything. There's so much fighting. What's one thing we can all get on board for, and then push that ahead and see what stems out of that, what births out of being able to find something in common.
I don't think that there's anything everybody could agree on.
well, not like, I'm sure I'm not talking about something.
Well, okay, for instance, I've known people in my life that their whole state is, they grow frustrated with me because they'll be like, come on, man, why do you gotta like say the one thing? Just go with it. And my answer is no. My answer is no. Because I've been elected to be that way by life. And the reason I've been elected to be that way by life is because there's something ugly about disingenuousness. There's something obvious and cringy about it. Right? Yeah. So for a lot of people, that is their natural proclivity, is to go along with it. It means I could say anything. Say I hadn't seen you in a while and we were two people of this ilk. And I go, man, work's been a real bummer. My boss is a real asshole. And without even knowing anything about my boss, you might go, yeah, I know, bosses are assholes.
Yeah.
That's the, what do they call it? White lies are the lubricant for socialness or something. For most people, there's like a saying that goes along with that. I don't believe that's my role in this life, is to just agree with things. So my opinion is that the problem with what you're saying is that I don't think everybody does agree on something. I think that there would be people agreeing for the wrong reasons. What is this thing that everybody's supposed to agree on? Somebody walks in and says, guys, everybody likes healthcare. Can we all agree that we should have healthcare? And then everybody says yes or something. Like, I'm trying to think of like an actual conceivable thing people could agree on, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But these are politics after all. And the thing that led people into politics to begin with is that they're good at social dynamics. Yeah. But social dynamics in this current age is deeply unconscious in a lot of ways. In some ways it's getting better, and there's some aims towards good things that might be a little misguided, and who knows. But the thing I think that stands out here that you even reiterated on is the collective nature of this thing.
Yeah.
Okay? I think that is a big deal. In some sense, you can only be as good as the environment you're in. If you all of a sudden were plopped in the jungle amongst gorillas, you would deem nature evil. You'd be like, oh my God, there's, family members humping each other. They're doing weird stuff with their fecal matter. They're hyper petty and dominant oriented. They were having coups and overtaking the one in charge. It was evil.
Yeah.
It's just nature. It's just unconsciousness. But we're aiming for something higher, are we not? And I think we are kind of co-creating this reality. I think that, you should strive to move up out of the unconscious parts of the world to a higher place, but you're still you're both responsible for the unconsciousness you see around you, and you're also sort of limited by it. So you got to work within the system that you're actually in, but at the same time, it doesn't really do you much good to wield a bunch of spells and make yourself superior through that method if the people around you are left behind, because it will affect you.
And I think that's what this video is trying to allude to, kind of like the selfless nature, seeing that. So
yeah.
The most influential magic has roots in the ancient world's advanced civilizations. Their mystical teachings flowed from a profound science of consciousness. Egyptian culture exalted magic as the animating force behind existence. Elite priest magicians trained for years to invoke Neteru, or the gods themselves, through meticulously composed hieroglyphic spells and multidimensional symbolic arrays. Kemetic writings describe Hekau, or magic, as the primordial activating power behind creation. Skilled practitioners awakened psychic abilities to vividly manifest desires and interact with spirits and deities. Temple rituals sought to empower and accelerate human evolution through magic. The Indian Vedas sang and channeled mantras and yantras to invoke devas, benevolent beings that administer cosmic order. Tantric yogis personified the Shakti, or feminine generative power, by awakening Kundalini. Agamas provided manuals for metaphysical arts, from alchemy to astrology. India's tantric traditions fused magic with their profound sciences of consciousness to achieve ritual power over reality, matter, and spirit. The vast corpus of runes, glyphs, and sigils employed across traditions reflect magic's common origin. These multidimensional powers focus consciousness, much like a microscope concentrates light into a potent beam. Each tradition mapped the terrain of inner space differently while exploring identical layers of mind and energy. Beyond Egypt and India, indigenous cultures from Australia to Siberia to the Americas possessed shamanic magic techniques adapted to their ecosystems. Common patterns reveal core principles at play. Native American shamans fasted and offered sacrifices or blood rites to bond with power animals that granted visions and ritual abilities. Totem carvings, sand paintings, and incantations carried energetic power for healing or manifesting needs. The forces engaged were seen as intelligent spirits permeating nature. In Mesoamerica, Aztec and Mayan cultures carried the legacy gained from the Olmecs, which shaped magic through advanced astrology, which synchronized rituals with the sacred Tonalpohualli calendar. Codices show magician priests morphing into animal forms or channeling cosmic forces. Offerings were given to sustain the cycling of cosmic energies. From Asia to Europe, magical systems also employed sacred diagrams, glyphs, and spirit alliances. Chinese divination manuals offered techniques to interpret omens and shift energetic balances. Norse shamans invoked runes and mythic archetypes to alter consciousness. Magic was essential to navigating the unseen currents binding humanity, nature, and the cosmos. While industrialization dismissed magic, the late 19th century saw renewed interest in occult philosophies and metaphysics. Secret orders like the Golden Dawn fused ancient Jewish mysticism and Eastern doctrines with Egyptian magic. Blavatsky's Theosophical Society was inspired to study the yogic arts from the Far East. Many pioneers saw magic as a gateway to investigating the mystical roots of physics and consciousness. Tesla and Reich studied subtle energy forces overlooked by mechanistic science. Artists and psychologists examined magic's role in unleashing creativity or the unconscious. Magic inspired ways to cultivate human potential. If you knew these cultures had advanced spiritual knowledge all along, then comment below to explain your findings. Today, practices from Wicca to chaos magic to New Age rites validate that magic continues to evolve. Contemporary approaches integrate digital media, postmodern philosophy, and emphasis on solo practice. While ancient systems had temples, many now follow what guides their own inner purpose. Currents like manifesting visualize desires to mobilize intention's power, while others use spells to sanctify daily life. Some rework past techniques as personal growth tools aimed at empowerment. While methods keep transforming, the ageless principles endure. Magic teaches that our reality mirrors our inner states. By directing attention mindfully, we can reshape our destiny and environment positively. But without wisdom, desire for only wealth and status breeds karmic disorder. The ego's wants often affront the universal harmony. Power without compassion harms others and the self through backlash. Approached recklessly, magic magnifies capacity without tempering motivation, a combustible mixture. But grounded in ethics and moderation, magic kindles human excellence. Responsible paths exist for exploring magic's truth without selfish aims. One may adopt daily practices for focus, gratitude, and selfless service. In magic's mirror, we see that all life is interconnected.
I didn't even need to say the thing I said at the beginning. Maybe that's
Well,
why.
no, it's good. It seems to be flowing.
It's a great video.
I got a remark on the fact that I feel that even in the day and age that we live in, I think we're in a very primitive time. That all the history, everything that we've done up tonight has just been like touching just a very surface of what magic is. And I think science as a tool will probably help us understand a lot of like all the practices that we were doing, like, and then, they produced results, and like, how did that produce a result like that? And then I think as we deconstruct it and dissect it and figure out what's actually going on and be able to look through microscopes and things like that to help us see things that we couldn't see were actually there before, we'll be able to harness that energy.
I think that there's
better.
people using magic and they don't even realize they're using magic. Fun thing aside, I know somebody that used to do magic pretty seriously, and then they converted and became a Christian.
Yeah.
But this is just their perspective, okay? I'm not speaking for everybody that practices magic.
Yeah.
I still practice magic. I still still work with that stuff. But I'm saying this was their take on it. They said they knew businessmen that were achieving success, and attributing it to the magical powers or something along those lines. Yeah. And their take at the end was that it convinces you that you're gaining power and elevating when really you're usurping power and you're becoming more in the shackles of the forces that you think you're wielding. Yeah. Right? So, sometimes I just like for fun to bring this back to the idea of non-dualism, right? If this is sort of like a dream, we're all co-manifesting along here, it's interesting that you have some autonomy and that you can do things to affect things, but you're clearly affected by other people, right? Yeah. And I'm just, so many things, it's like, imagine and being like, okay, I got a message for the world. I got a message of love, but no one's listening to me. Yeah. So obviously I got to beat them at their own game for them to hear me. So I'm going to do everything I can to get some status and some power. And now it'll mean something when I renunciate everything. Yeah. But behold, you're like that guy from the Bible that Jesus was like, the rich man came to Jesus and said, what do I got to do to have the kingdom of God? And Jesus said, you got to get rid of everything you've got. And the guy walked away sad. He couldn't do it. Be aware of the things that are becoming shackles for you. Greater is the peace. Greater is a small morsel and the peace therein than acquiring a house taken with strife. Or so, I can't remember exactly what it says, right? And that's alluding to all that in this, honestly. This is a great video. I love the way it's done. The guy's voiceover's awesome. I probably don't need to say as much as I'm saying. But I don't know.
Yeah, well, for some reason when you brought up the Christian guy, it just made me think about the things that we might be doing that are magic that we don't even know are magic.
Yes.
And so, what if prayer is a form of, reciting a spell?
I think it is.
Yeah, and, little things like that we do. Maybe, kicking your boots off when you come in the house, twice on the right, so twice
for
on
sure.
Maybe we're casting spells all the time and we don't even know it.
I think we are. I think we are. Imagine finding out that you've got way more power than you have. Like, there's a whole filter of your consciousness that doesn't think you have power. Yeah. But imagine wiping that clean and realizing you had way more power than you thought. All of a sudden the responsibility is huge. But what's going on with you? If you had the power to, like a genie, get what you wanted, and you were like, yes, I'm going to make myself rich. But you ignore. Yeah. But are you taking into account how that makes other people feel? And if your answer, for instance, would be, yes, I am taking into account how they feel, and I get more power from their jealousy. Your hate fuels me. Yeah. This thing is like mathematically sound. There's a balance to it. You are being unconscious if you're not trying to weigh every fine detail of it. Yeah. What you might find through this practice eventually is that you really want unity. What you really do want when you dig your way out of the unconscious mire of just straight up competition to the higher realms is you might go, I really want everyone to be connected and in love. That is what you might find, right? And another fun fact, interesting. I walked in. This is the last thing I'll say. Yeah. I walked into a witchcraft store one time. Yeah. I was on a shamanic walk. That's kind of when you let yourself just be guided by the world around you. I went into a town I wasn't super familiar with, and I just started walking around. And eventually, I got in my car and I was driving along, and I was pulled to this magic shop. And I went in, and I was looking at things, and it was blowing my mind. I was in a weird state. And I went into the women that worked there. And we were in a triangle, and we were talking, and it was very eerie because we all sort of knew what we were talking about. I think they knew I came there from some weird state. Yeah. And I was like, so what do I do now? What do I do next? This was years ago, early on. And they were like, this was before I'd done much looking into non-dualism or enlightenment stuff. And they were like, just start chipping away at your ego. Try to reduce your ego. Yeah. That's what the heart of all this is when you get far enough. Yeah. Which is just, it's hilarious, because sometimes we gotta raise people up, or people need to be raised up from egoic pursuits to get to a place where you realize you've got to, the best thing to do is relinquish it and focus on other people bringing up. Yeah. Isn't it funny, man?
Yeah, it is.
It's paradoxical.
Another path is studying magical theory to grasp its risks before considering deeper engagement. Or one can support qualified adepts through community service. When integrated with care, magic reveals humanity's untapped gifts, but forcing results for egotistic ends courts metaphysical peril or seduction by forces beyond one's competence. A middle way of humility and openness unlocks magic's doorway to life's mysteries and consciousness itself. The tendency to fear what we don't understand caused mainstream religion and society to demonize magic as the province of evil. Yet, magic's methods are based on ancient sciences of consciousness and nature's living patterns. If comprehended, magic provides a doorway to humanity's hidden potential. But irresponsible uses lead to karmic disorder. To reach its heights, magic must be grounded in ethics and the broader good of all. With holistic vision, magic unveils mysteries of consciousness and our place in the cosmos. No longer primitive superstition, magic appears as an advanced self-technology using ritual to harness latent human abilities and unseen forces for spiritual growth or healing. Magic has always been a way for humanity to touch forces greater than itself, whether the gods, divine will, or our boundless quantum imagination. To responsibly rediscover this sacred science is to reconnect with our wholeness beyond the ego. Magic offers a multi-dimensional mirror to better know ourselves and existence itself. Misapprehending magic as base superstition has denied humanity a deeper knowledge of consciousness and nature's powers. Approached with care and wisdom, magic provides technologies to develop human potential. Its ritual methods remind us that inner evolution requires focus, mindfulness, and service. At its heart, magic reveals that matter, energy, and awareness interweave too subtly for the rational intellect alone to decode. Magic speaks to realities intellectually intangible, but experientially tangible under the right conditions. Materialism rejects this depth, but open and disciplined inquiry unveils truths equally rigorous and profound. In magic, humanity finds a path to fulfill latent talents by harmonizing the mind and universe. The mind shapes existence, but existence also awakens the mind. This interplay of awakening reveals magic's transcendent capabilities once grasped. No longer opposed to reason, magic unifies spiritual wonder and scientific knowledge. Our destinies await further illumination from reintegrating this estranged aspect of the human story. Magic's forgotten knowledge contains missing keys that can unlock doors to our next evolution. To responsibly resurrect magic's capabilities is to reconnect through ritual with cosmic consciousness itself.
Wonderful video.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful video, and the artwork was gorgeous. For some reason, you know what it made me think of?
What?
Do you remember that old Simpsons episode where Homer's real jealous of Ned Flanders and they're at a barbecue together?
Yeah.
And he snaps the chicken wing and he wishes that Ned's new store would go out of business.
Oh, yeah.
Just because he's jealous, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the way
yeah.
it plays out is Homer's magic works.
Yeah.
And Ned's store goes out of business and he's desolate and he's like confiding in Homer, his enemy. But in the end, this breaks Homer's heart. And Homer helps Ned get his business in order.
Yeah.
We're all like jockeying for position here. But I think the deeper friggin' message is, hopefully it just gets into my own mind and all our minds, is that like, if we could get on board with this idea of like being in it together, you know, that we're in this thing together and that, you know, how friggin' conscious can I be if everyone around me is not conscious? How good can I be? How rich could I be? It's isolating.
Yeah.
You know, so it's do your work. Study human nature. Study what humans are like. You know, read Our Inner Ape. That's a great book. And then you'll go, holy crap, it's impossible for me to be better than everybody because they can't help but hate me if I'm better than them. So what am I going to wield? What spell am I going to wield if everybody secretly, by their nature, has to hate me? And I can guarantee there are some staunch capitalists. I'm not against capitalism, but there are some, I see the limits of it. But I can guarantee there would be some staunch capitalists that would be going, you know, like, shut up! It's not that way. No, I only admire people that are better than me. I'm never jealous of them. Yeah.
I
Well,
disagree.
Yeah. Well,
disagree with
when
that.
I watch a video like that, part of me like wants things to progress faster. I'm like, come on, can
it's
we get
fine,
this
this is
thing?
perfect.
I know, but and I'm reminded again that reality knows what it's doing, and it's part of the process. We're like in the scientific process where like people are like, magic is stupid. Stop looking at magic. It's for idiots. And then there's going to be a time where I think we come back and there's going to be like a merging of science and, like you were saying, technology and magic, and it's going to come together, and then we're going to learn how to like wield things.
If this stuff's real, it's real, okay? Sometimes, like, I'm not perfect, but I'm chipping away at stuff. I'm trying to clean up my diet. I'm doing my best, and I'm still completely mired in filth. I'm a sinful person, just like all of us. But I'm saying, let's say, for instance, you were like, you know, so naive as to think like, and not think about your actions. Like, it's like, you know, well, those poor people that live in some war-torn ghetto of a country where there's warlords and, you know, human trafficking and all that stuff, that's there. Maybe I'll donate some money or something like that. Yeah. It's like the gravity of the problem is as such. A lot of stuff gets like, we put a lot of our things we don't want to deal with into areas like that. Like, you know, cheap labor, you know, where do you buy your clothes from? Little do you know it's manufactured in some place that's a hellhole, you know, where they don't even have a chance to start. You know, they don't even have a chance to start thinking about higher ideals. And you'd be like, well, then fine, I just won't buy clothes from there. As you start chipping things out, you realize the state of the world, and you go, well, how does that really affect me? So what if I'm wearing clothes that are manufactured by child laborers? Yeah. It does affect you because it's still part of a greater system that would allow that process to exist, to allow goods and services to be shipped in from poor places, which is also the same culture that goes, oh, you want to advertise essentially drugs to the general populace and there be no laws? This is capitalism. If people want to drink and eat themselves to death, they can go nuts, except for until it hurts somebody you love or until it dupes you into being part of a business that is designed to, you know, mesmerize you but secretly take from you. Or the media that you watch, every show that you watch. I'm going to watch Yellowstone where everybody's trying to kill each other, and, you know, that influences how you are. And now the only kind of humor you want to hear is the most vulgar type of humor. The only type of products you want to consume are absolutely wretched and poisonous to your system, and you're not aware of it because you think it's not my problem. All of it is your problem. All of it is all of our problems. Yes. So I love this video because it points out to, like, remember that part of it when you're wielding your magic, that it's karmic. Yeah. So I don't mean to be too preachy, folks. Let me reiterate, I'm not perfect. I'm with y'all. We're all in this together, struggling along.
Yep, trying to figure things out, guys. Hopefully you like our reaction video on this. If you did, please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone, until next time, stay spiritual.